Aiden's game is a game inherently about adventure and exploration, right? So the premise of the game is to create interesting gameplay through unique combat encounters and a variety of different mechanics to interact with. Um, there's a lot of games out there that have one or two cool things about them. They'll have Red Dead will have its train robberies, and Payday will have its heists, and Counter Strike has its like wall peeking or whatever, right? There's all these different individual fun elements of games that I think could be incorporated into a much larger experience overall, and that's kind of my goal with the game mostly is to create this super expressive world that you can exist within. Sort of like if you've played Noida or if you've played Rain World, games like that, where you have this dynamic environment and you have dynamic characters interacting with each other inside said environment, and you as the player have autonomy as well as these characters, you know. Um, that's sort of the premise, right? It's very non-definitive as of yet because quite frankly, I plan on working on this one game probably for the rest of my life. I don't really have any desire to make any other titles besides this one. I figure if I'm going to go through the effort to make a game, I'm gonna make a game. I'm not pouring my heart out into this one thing just to abandon it a couple weeks down the line and write it off as another addition to my resume. I'm not focused on that. I'm focused on creating the best possible game that I can physically create, right? And I've been working on this project is what I've been calling it up until now, right? But I've been working on this project for several years at this point. I want to say like two or three, maybe, if I have to think back and look. But it started basically when I started learning how to utilize Unity as a game engine, right? So I've been programming different features and different random shit that I thought was cool into the game since then, and I've been able to refine my programming skills over that time span enough so to where I was able to add meaningful additions that actually contribute to like a game sense almost, right? And so, that's exactly what I'm about to do. I'm about to make hella interesting creatures. I'm about to make hella interesting weapons, hella interesting items and places for you to use all these different aspects in. Because I found myself looking for a game like that, and I had never experienced something like that. I fell down the rabbit hole of Minecraft modding, right? So what I was essentially trying to do was to create this experience for myself that was beyond Minecraft, and eventually you sort of realize that that's not like super doable. It's more doable with Minecraft than it is with other games, but like it's just not really something you see. You play Call of Duty, you expect a very certain thing. You go in there and you're gonna shoot people, in first person, right? There is no, dialogue system in place. There is no trading with NPCs. There is no exploration. There is no open world. There is no this and that, right? Because everyone is so terrified to, mix up the genres and get their theme a little bit muddled up, right? You'll see in apocalyptic survival games, usually they don't have crazy mystical creatures like unicorns or elves or anything like that because they simply don't fit the narrative. And what I'm more concerned with is creating a fun experience that feels like a place. That's what I want to do, right? So I'm not limiting myself to remain stuck within a certain thematic narrative, right? My game is going to have, and I guess technically already does sort of have, multiple worlds almost, right? The idea is that it's one big open space, right? That structure spawn in this space, enemies and loot spawns in this space, and you have uh, your typical survival stats that you have to accommodate to, right? You have three main ones as of right now. in the game, but I definitely do plan to add several more. Um, they're on the game design document, you know, because of course they are, right? But these three main survival mechanics are sanity, health, and hunger, right? Now, your health is very obvious. It's your health, right? It decreases when you get hit, right? And in order for it to increase, it burns away your hunger, sort of like Minecraft, or sort of, I guess, kind of like real life, if you think of it that way, right? Where you have, you know, hunger that gets burned in replacement for regenerating your health. So you have to maintain your hunger if you want to maintain your health. You have to maintain your hunger either way, because without it, your health starts to, you know, dwindle down slowly when it's at zero, right? And then the other stat bar that's of main concern right now is the sanity stat bar. Now, there's a whole bunch of stuff I want to do with this one, because I think that sanity in games is so underutilized as a feature when it has such tremendous potential, right? I want to do a variety of things related to that that don't exist as of yet in the game. But right now, as far as a gameplay, I guess gameplay perspective on the sanity, right? You have sanity, and your sanity caps your health, right? So whatever your maximum sanity is what your health can regenerate to, right? So if your sanity bar is half full, then your health bar can only regenerate up to that halfway point. To sort of force players to utilize the sanity regeneration methods, right? Because there's going to be a variety of different ways for you to regenerate sanity, but the primary one is going to revolve around drug abuse, right? Because I think, you know, drugs and games are also not nearly as fun as they could be. You know how cool it would be if your character could do cocaine and then get a fucking speed boost from that? That would be fucking awesome, you know? And there's a variety of different visual effects that also come along with drugs that I think would be super cool to represent in a game, right? So those are going to be there as well. And not just your typical drugs, dog. I want to cover everything. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna have everything from peyote to motherfucking ketamine in this bitch, right? There's gonna be all sorts of different drugs that your player has to utilize if they want to regenerate their sanity, which is a crucial part of the game, right? But these drugs are gonna have their own varying benefits, right? I don't think I said this earlier, the entire game is a roguelike, right? That is the premise of the game. It orients around you having one life, living in this world, dying, and carrying over that information that you learned from playing the game into your next playthrough, right? And so, you know, because I wanted to create this game that's sort of like everlasting almost, because when I was a child, I, you know, I just didn't have bands like that. I wasn't balling for real. So when I would buy a game, I would only have what, 15, $20 maybe to spend on a game, and I'd have to buy a title that I knew was going to be worthwhile of my minimal salary, you know, right? So I was getting your games that are highly replayable. I was getting GTA, you know, I was getting Minecraft, I was getting Fallout, I was getting Watch Dogs 2 specifically, I remember, right? But as a child, I was always trying to min max my rewards. You know, it was the common question that I was asked as a child. It was like, would you rather buy a toy or buy a piece of candy, right? You don't want a piece of candy because that candy is going to disappear once you eat it, you know. But a toy, you buy a cool toy, you got that joint forever, you know. There's no, it's yours, you know. You can't, you know, no one can take that from you. And so that's sort of the experience I want to create. I want to create something that's highly replayable and that gives you fun immediately, and, you know, is a good game, pretty much, right? Because I found myself gravitating more towards games of that standing. I started playing more games like Noita, um, or Devil Daggers or Post Void, simply because they were so fast and immediately stimulating, right? Like I could go through and play, you know, GTA 4 or whatever, and play through the story and this and that or whatever. But sometimes that's not what I'm trying to do. Sometimes I'm just trying to like hop into a cool arcadey feeling game and play a video game. that's one remark that I'll make about the game, is that it's inherently a video game, right? I think a lot of games try and trick you into thinking that it's something else, that it's this, um, it's this super deep that it's this super deep philosophy, that's what the fuck it is, shit, right? There's this super deep philosophical statement when in reality it's just a game, right? It can't have, I'm not saying it can't have deeper meaning or anything. It definitely can, and a lot of games do that perfectly. But a lot of games try to only be that, a lot of games try to only be the story. A lot of games try to, only be the hyper realistic combat encounters and whatnot. My game is not focused on that. My game is focused on being a game inherently, right? No part of the game is going to hide the fact that it is a video game from you, You're gonna. I'm not saying that that means that we can't have the other things that are in other games. You can have deep stories. You can have this. You can have that. You can have the realism. You can have whatever. But it's still a game at the end of the day, and I want it to feel like that's what the experience is. It's this world that you boot up on your computer and that you can play, right? I want it to be the game that you download to your main hard drive in case you're failed, fuck, right? I want it to be the game that you download to your hard drive because you're afraid of a power outage and you want something to play, even in a post-apocalyptic environment, right? I don't know if anyone else did that actually. That was just me. I used to do that all the time where I would download a game because I was like, oh, if the world ends, you know how much it would suck to not have GTA, right? Like if I could just replay one game, in the apocalypse using my rigged up as power system or some shit, I would want it to be a highly replayable game, which is sort of, which is what I'm trying to create, right? That's the whole point of this video, right? Is for me to sort of introduce the premise and sort of let other people know what I'm building, because I realized I've been building this for a while, and I think it'd be cool if other people played it too. Like they would probably fuck with it, and I can put in things that they fuck with too, and like things that I think are cool, right? That's the entire premise of this. I want to make a fun game that's cheap and that you can go buy and play, right? And that's constantly going to be updated, that you won't have to pay DLC for, that will never cost $60+ for a fucking enhanced and extended edition, right? I want to create a quality game, something that like is my life's work. I want to utilize all this creative potential that I feel dwelling up inside of me and direct it into this one piece, right? I was always taught as a kid that like that's what a lot of people do. That's what like a lot of artists do or whatever, where they have one life piece that they work on for their whole life, right? They have this one, collection of paintings or something like that where they poured their heart and soul into it, and I think that a lot of the times that really reaps the benefits, and you can see all the effort that they put into something, and you can see all the time and the care, and it becomes a good piece of art, not only because of the work that they put in, but because all that time is refined and mastered their artistry, so you get the best possible experience from the situation, right? And that's sort of what I'm trying to create with this game. It's going to be the one thing that I'm going to pour everything into, right? Like I'm saying this like this is new. I've been doing this for the past, since I learned how to develop, since I started becoming comfortable enough with my programming skills to not watch YouTube tutorials anymore, right? It's been a while, it's been a long while, and I've continuously poured this dedication into working on this game, right? Um, that I didn't even plan on being a game. That's the whole thing, is that like this was initially just an experiment for me to sort of feel out game development, decide if I eventually wanted to create a game or what I wanted to do or what premises I'd even make a game about. And I sort of realized after a while that a lot of the fun that I derive from a game is from the individual fun elements within that game, and that these fun elements can be incorporated into a broader, bigger overall game that covers them, right? Like I'll be playing GTA, and the reason I'll stop playing GTA is because I feel this inherent gamer urge, this lust for a zombie survival scenario, right? So I stop playing GTA and I boot up Project Zomboid. I want to create an environment where you don't have to really do that, where you can go to a different part of the map and there's different shit over there that you can play with, and you can sort of start to go in areas that you find to be interesting. Like, do you like wandering the forest and interacting with like elves and gnomes and shit? There's part of the map for that. Do you want a dusty wasteland survival where you're shooting at other raiders and, capturing caravans and shit? They got that too. I want to create this experience, right? And this is what I had tried to do back in the day with my Minecraft modding endeavors, but to little success, right? Like, you can cram all these mods into the game, and it's cool, but it just doesn't offer that level of freedom that creating your own game gives you, right? Like, I can program any individual behavior for any individual item or place or character or virtually, and even the player. I could just program it in there if it's not in there and it's something that I want to be in there, right? So, my bad. So yeah, that's my goal, is to create this experience that is replayable and is always fun and that always has something new for you to do inside of it. That's what I want to do. I want people to come and see this video, right? And then if this is a game that they're interested in, come back every, week or two. There will be a new video. There will be more me. There will be more game. I will have made more shit for more game. It'll be fire. It'll be cool. You just gotta trust the process, I guess. Because like a lot of people will come at you and will say like, oh, scope creep this, scope creep that. Scope creep is definitely a thing, but the only reason it's a problem is because people don't go through and fulfill that creep, right? You introduce the creep or the new ideas, and then what happens in a lot of in a lot of developers, they realize how unachievable that is within their own game, and they either give up on the idea, which they resent the game for now because it can't fit in, or they secretly hold that, and then eventually they ditch the game to create something more along those lines. What I'm sort of trying to say here is that doesn't have to be the case, right? That doesn't have to be the case, because it's all stemming from you not feeling like whatever element it is can't be added to your game for whatever reason, whether it be technical limitations or thematic limitations, both of which I'm not really suffering from, right? Like, I'm at the point now, like I already said, where I feel confident enough in my skills to be able to develop any individual process or script that I might need for any specific thing in the game, right? And as far as thematics go, I don't want to confine myself to a certain zombie apocalypse theme or a fantasy RPG roguelike theme or this or that, because then I have to abide by the rules in that. Like, I can't have Red Dead Redemption 2 train robberies in a fantasy RPG game. Like, it just doesn't fit. One's Wild West and crime, and the other is slaying elves and leveling up, right? They're two different things, and what I'm sort of trying to show everybody is that like, they don't have to be separate, and we're only separating them because thematics, really. Like, if I can have all the cool fun shit crammed into one game, that's what I would want to do. That's what I've been trying to create with the Minecraft mods. And that's what I'm doing now and have been doing for several years at this point, which is why I'm also convinced that it's, I don't know, that I guess that watching this is a well-placed investment, because it's not like I'm going anywhere. That's the whole thing. It's like, unless the CIA kills me, there's no reason I'm going to stop developing this game ever, low key. Um, and I don't know. Maybe eventually someday it'll develop into something on the levels of complexity as Dwarf Fortress or what is it called? RimWorld? Yeah, RimWorld. Something like that. I don't know. But as of right now, there's a couple cool little features in the game. There's a basic inventory system along with weapons, right? So you have your projectile based weapons, so like firearms, anything that shoots any other object, right? You have some melee weapons, there's a couple enemies in there, and then there's like two environments as of right now with a couple different structures that can generate and all of this. And I'm trying to really undersell this because I don't want to like give people a false representation of what's there, right? Like I've seen a lot of different game reviewers get sort of annoyed when they go to play a game and they expect it to be this finished, polished product, and it's not that, and they're like, well, I guess I'll come back when it's finished. This is not a project that is going to be finished in a traditional sense. It'll finish when I die. How about that? How about that? How you like that, right? When I die and I pass away and I physically can no longer work on the game, my consciousness doesn't get absorbed into the PC or something, because if it does, I'll keep working on it, right? But until then, the game is not finished. Straight up, it's not finished, because there's always cooler shit you can add. There's always more fun that can be had within the game. There's always more ideas that I have. I have this massive world in my head that makes it sound very scope creepy. I have all these ideas in my head of this environment that has existed in my mind, in my imagination since I was young, right? Since I was super young. And there's all sorts of different wacky elements that exist here. There's all sorts of different weird, cool, creative shit that can be expressed through a game, right? Like, I don't know, I vibe with cool shit. If it's cool, it's cool. You know what I'm saying? Like a toaster gun, right? If you had a gun that shot toast, right? And the toast, um, when it hits somebody, it turns them into fried toast. Or not fried toast, what is it called? Toasted toast? Whatever. Something like that would be cool. It'd be fire. It'd be interesting to play with, right? It'd be a cool tool, right? Especially in this environment where you can encounter all varieties of different enemies that are gonna force you into doing different combat techniques and whatnot, right? Like I don't want you to just be fighting the same dude with gun, generic guy with gun, number four, right? Like we don't want that. I want you to be able to fight different enemies that have different attacks and different, you know, methodologies and whatnot. Like I'm not confining the game to only use humanoid characters, right? Like a lot of games that are based in real settings have something like that, where it's like Call of Duty, you're not encountering a unicorn, like I said, right? But in my game, you can, you know, right? You go to the right spot and you can find that, you know, you could do that thing, you can get that thing, right? Whatever it may be, right? And I want to incorporate all these different individually fun elements into an overall more fun experience, right? Like, I guess one of the gameplay inspirations, I guess, I don't really know what to call it, is sort of Tarkov, right? Because I tried to play Tarkov a couple of years ago, right? And I sucked. It was ass. I was terrible. And I realized very quickly that I had spent $40 on this game that I really didn't like playing, right? Like I loved watching people play it, but I didn't like playing it myself. It wasn't a fun experience. It was just sort of stressful and hard to navigate, right? That was the only thing I had really gotten from it. But I loved watching it, and I love all the details of watching it. I love when the guys talk about how, you know, they used a certain meta, or they you know, when there's super tense scenarios and shit like that, right? When there's cool combat encounters, they get caught off guard, or they, you know, make a snipe from super far away or something. Like I loved all the individual elements of it, and yet for some reason when I played it, I just sucked ass. Like it was so bad that it wasn't fun at all, right? Same thing with Dark and Darker, where I had tried to play it and I had watched all these people play it and whatnot, and I played it myself, and I was like very quickly, wow, it's really just 10 minutes of loading screen for me to die in 2 minutes and then wait another 10 minutes and another loading screen, right? Like I wasn't really looking for that. So I was, you know, sort of trying to emulate that experience to a degree with this game, in that it's like a survival thing, sort of survival experience, right? So you're this guy, and you know, you have hunger. Eventually you'll have thirst and temperature too, that you'll have to manage in interesting ways, of course, right? I don't want to add anything that isn't cool to interact with. Like if it's not fun, I'm not keeping it, straight up, right? Like if we put temperature in the game and temperature turns out to just become the most annoying fucking thing in the world to deal with, it's getting cut like that. It's gone, right? um so yeah, but basically that's what I was trying to say, right? So my game is gonna have some of these, you know, survival elements where you have to maintain your sanity and your hunger as of right now, and whatnot. And you sort of have to plan, kind of, right? Because I love that aspect in roguelikes where you have to plan for randomness, right? Like in Noida, you can spend all your time crafting and tinkering with the perfect wand build and then slowly assembling the ingredients you need for that and go about it that way. But a lot of the times, it's way more fun when you have to just think on the fly. When you're given a couple spells and you have to use these spells in a certain way to survive the level, right? Like, everybody in the next level right in front of you, they'll have guns and they can fly, right? So using a shitty, short distance type spell wouldn't be ideal, but the only spell you have is a short distance one. But you also have this modifier that can change it a little bit, right? So introducing, decision making. That's what the game is about. If I had to point to one fucking thing, right, it would be decision making. You have to utilize the arsenal that you've been given, the tools and resources you've been given, and you have to fucking survive. Just straight up, just like how you have to do in the real world, right? If your character is hungry and their hunger is starting to dwindle, and you notice in your inventory you don't have any food, guess what? You gotta go find some somehow. You can go hunt an animal. You can go trade with somebody to get food. You can go rob some abandoned buildings and whatnot and hope that they have some survival tools for you. You can explore further and that'll lead you to more loot and more enemies and more interactions, right? That's sort of the goal with this, is to create a world for you to live in. Not live in, but survive in at the very least. Live and learn and do all that fucking fun shit, I don't know. I'm kind of out of steam. I'm not gonna lie. I've been talking for a minute. It's been 27 minutes. I'm looking at this joint. Oh my god. I'm, I'm gonna have to go back through this and like do all that. I'm not feeling that. But I just have some chat points here to talk about, right? Um, as far as like the genre of the game, right? Because I know I'm gonna get a lot of confusion in that area. The genre of the game, think like Adventure Time, right? When you watch the show, there isn't like a definitive grounded universe almost. Like in Adventure Time, anything could happen, dude. You could be walking through the forest and a wizard could give you 5 power rings. Or, you could be walking through the forest and your skin gets turned inside out by a dude with a yellow hat, or you meet a magical dog, or you slay a demon prince or something. Anything can happen in that environment within reason, of course, right? But both magical and technological things exist within this place, right? There's areas in Adventure Time that are like post-apocalyptic wastelands, and then there's other areas where you have dense, lush, beautiful forests filled with imaginary creatures and whatnot. So if the game had to have a vibe or a theme, that's sort of what I would go off of, right? Or if you've ever seen Midnight Gospel, right, the universes that he enters, that's sort of the vibe that I'm going for, right? Something uh, chaotic and random, but cohesive at the same time. And I mean, it's not a matter of like, if I think I can do it, I know I can because I have been so far. I'm just sort of finally at the point where I feel comfortable enough to show everybody else, right? Because my big thing was that I didn't want to create a video unless I had something for you to play, right? Because I hate when they do that. The developers will go in and they'll start working on their game, and halfway through you realize that it doesn't exist on Steam. There's not even a wishlist spot for it. It's not on itch. It's not anywhere. So you can't really play it, and you're only really deriving what you see from what they show you, right? So and then they can obviously just not tell you the truth or the full truth, right? Which is not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to really emphasize how much of the game is there, because it's not anywhere close to what I envision it to eventually be one day. And I know it's going to slowly progress to that point, right? I just don't want to leave anyone with misinterpretations as to what the experience that they're buying into might end up being, right? Yeah. I just want everybody to be viscerally aware of the state of the game, which is why I'm being very upfront with the lack of, like, I don't want to say lack of depth, because it's not deep. It's just not fleshed out yet, you know? And that's what I'm in the process of doing now. So, over the coming weeks and months and years and decades and fucking centuries, if we become superhuman, right, you're gonna see me developing this damn game, right? And yeah, I hope you can join me for the journey. I think it's gonna be fun. I mean, I know it's gonna be fun. I spend all my days programming this shit. Like, it's fun to me, and honestly, that's enough. Like, even if nobody else fucks with it, like, I think it's cool. And I'm guessing there's at least one other person out there who's like me and would like an experience like this, or to play a game like this. So that's what I'm trying to do. So I came into this video with enough of a game for you to be able to play and interact with the environment, right? Not everything is super in depth, not everything is fully fleshed out, and not nearly to the level that I want it to be, right? But we'll see those changes slowly and over time. But at the very least, right now, there's a world for you to walk around and engage with and survive in. You know, there's something there, the ground is there, and from that ground we build off and off and off into infinite space, you know. And if that's not your thing, then that's not your thing, you know. Like, you want a finished product, you want something that's like finalized and there's no bugs and there's no this that or whatever, and like it's perfect gameplay loop, it's been refined and tested for years. That's not what this is. That's probably not what this is ever going to be, right? But it is going to be fucking fun. I can tell you that much. It's going to be fun. It'll be polished. It'll be beautiful. And once again, I'm going to reiterate, it'll be fun. It'll be cool, right? So if this is a game that you think that you might be interested in, go ahead, subscribe. Did the YouTube thing. Like and subscribe, bro, right? Eventually, I don't know if I'll have it done by this video, but there will be a free itch.io demo for the game. That is the game in its current state, right? So that way you can play it and sort of feel exactly how finished it is and see like, oh yeah, he was right, it's not actually finished yet, right? I can see where it's going, right? That's the idea, is to give you a little taste of what it's going to be like, but to let you know very definitively that it's not done yet. It's not going to be done this year or next year or the year after that, right? But there will be new shit. There will be new cool shit, and you'll definitely have fun playing it. And that's my whole thing, right? When I do eventually list the game on Steam for people to purchase, which I have to save up a little bit of money first before I do, because I'm low-key broke, right? When I eventually do that, I'm not going to price the game high, right? Because, like, I don't know, this is all catering towards my childhood self. And as a kid, there was no way in hell I was paying $70 for some shit. $90, you got me fucking sick. What are you talking about, right? Even $30, $40, not doable, not doable. 20, not doable. 10, maybe, right? If it's a banger, maybe. So right now, the price point I'm envisioning my game at is $5 schmeckles, $5 whole dollars, right? Because, you know, I think it should be cheap. I think that, well, like, I don't know, it's something that I do for fun, right? It's this hobby that I have and have had for years at this point, where I just make shit for this game. Like, it's not for something. It's not for a target audience. It's not for profit. It's not for any of that. So profiting off it in general already makes me feel bad, but I know that it'll be useful for reinvesting in the game and whatnot. But that's not where I'm trying to derive. I don't know. I don't even know how to say it. Like, that's not where I'm deriving my motivation from. Like, I see a lot of these game developers nowadays making games for profit, or like they will come in with a set goal, and like they'll be like, oh, we need to acquire so many wish lists, and we need to hit this price point, we need to change prices for different parts of the world, and it needs mass appeal and this and that. That's not what this is. This is purely artistic expression, and if you want to play that, because I think it's fun, then I think that you should do that. If you want to pirate that shit, fucking do it, bro. If you want to play the demo, do that shit. I don't like when the game is eventually on Steam, dog, you have my full permission to go pirate that shit, bro. If you don't have $5, you don't want to pay $5, don't, bro. You don't have to. Go get that shit for free somewhere. I'm sure some site will host something related to it. Um, but yeah, if you do decide that that's what you want to do, you're like, yeah, I'm balling out today. We about to spend $5 whole on this game right here. Then do that, you know? Do that, play the game, be like, oh shit, that's cool, right? And then come back the next week because there's probably going to be some new shit. And then the week after that, there will for sure be some new shit. And then the week after that, and after that, and after that, right? All the way off until I become old and frail and need robotic hands to type, right? Um, yeah. If you're fucking with it, you're fucking with it, I suppose. But kind of out of things to say now. I feel like I hope I talked enough to be able to edit this down into something cohesive. I've been yapping for over 30 minutes now. So we'll see how short of a video that ends up turning out to be. But tune in because next week I'll probably have a video. And if not, then the week after that, I'll for sure have a video. So let me know, right? And those videos are going to be more in the style of devlogs, you know, right? Like if I don't know what people watch, right? Because I have a very weird YouTube feed, right? So I don't really know if that's necessarily what you're into or whatever, but that's primarily going to be the content on this channel, at least as of right now. It's going to be game development. It's going to be me showing off the game, what's been added to the game, cool new shit. You could just tune in while you eat your meal every Friday or some shit and you know, enjoy the vibes, right? If you see something cool that you want to play, right? You see that I added some cool feature and you're like, oh, that's cool, that's sick as fuck, I want to interact with that, right? You just go boot up the game, download the fucking update, which will be free, right? Download the fucking update, bada bing, bada boom, you get to play this shit, right? Isn't that fucking sick? I don't know, right? But if you're tired of typical games, if you haven't had fun with your games in your Steam library for a little while, definitely subscribe because I think that eventually, sooner or later, there's going to be something in here that you like and that you fuck with. So, yeah, do all that cool shit. I love you from the bottom of my heart. Goodbye.